Great. Well, welcome. Welcome to the Knowledge Share with Dr. Dave webinar that's really being presented today at the Agile for Humanity Tucson meetup. And the topic today is my first initial coin offering, ICO Cryptocurrency, Managing Chaos with Agile Practices. So, a little bit about myself. This is Dr. Dave Cornelius. I fancy myself to be a servant leader, or that's my goal. I'm an Agile coach and trainer. Delivered over $1 billion in customer value. I'm really involved with digital transformation strategy, try to help people to get from concept to cash innovation. Currently a tech launch Arizona advisor at the University of Arizona. A few things that we have available is like we have I've written 2 books. One is called Elastic Minds, What Are You Thinking? And Transforming Your Leadership Character, the Lean Thinking and Agility Way on Amazon.com. Now, I also have a podcast that we do, which is called Knowledge Share with Dr. Dave, something that you could check out and interact with. And one of the key activities that I'm involved with is the 5 Saturdays outreach program. And we'll love for you to get involved with 5 Saturdays as a program, such that you could contribute and give back to your community if that's something of your choice. Let's see. I am connected. Yep. So here we are going. So basically, just wanted to tell you that launching an initial coin offering is a big deal, right? I mean, it's one of those things that's a big, hairy, audacious goal. Planning and facilitating the delivery of an ICO is just huge undertaking. Trying to get that to market. And I believe, and from my experience, that using an Agile practice is the best way to get there. And Agile practices, it's really made for responding to change, and it's one of the key constants for delivering the ICO to market. So if I would say, if you want to do an ICO and do it really well, I will tell you that leveraging Agile practices is a great way to get there. Some of the learning objectives. So we want to make sure at the end of this presentation that you understand what is an ICO. You could use Kanban practices to reduce the chaos that comes with trying to do such a large initiative. Use Lean Business Canvas to evolve your business model and allows you to experiment with launching an ICO. These are all great things. So one way that I got involved with the ICO practice itself, or with an organization, is a friend of mine reached out to me earlier this year, and he was in need for someone who was an expert in agility and lean business and the different practices. So he asked me to come on board, and he was the acting CTO of the company at the time, to come on board and help them to really accelerate the work that they're doing, trying to get things to market faster. So that was my gig. That's what I did to help the organization to move forward and get things rolling. So things that I did for them was things with user experience, helped to use more Kanban and Scrum, got them set up with Team Foundation Services by Microsoft, TFS. Wanted to make sure that we could drive more team collaboration as teams were distributed or team members were distributed in different parts of the world and different parts of the country. And to also build a tremendous amount of transparency into what was going on to enable this digital transformation strategy. So what is an initial coin offering anyway? So when you think of an ICO, think of it also in the same vein as you would think of an initial public offering. Bringing a company on a stock exchange is similar with an ICO. Not exactly the same, but similar. What you're doing is giving up a percentage of ownership in the company to people to invest in your idea. And basically, you leverage that money to run the operations and to really launch your product. And so you could fund it with traditional fiat currency, USD. I live in the United States, so that's one context. Or you could also use cryptocurrency as another source of funding. The context of cryptocurrency and what is it? When you think about it, cryptocurrency is really a digital encrypted currency itself that's run on the internet and computers, distributed throughout the world. The whole idea is to be able to secure and verify every transaction that's done. So if I wanted to buy a bottle of water and I use cryptocurrency, it would see the transactions from my wallet, where I went to a specific store and I purchased that water, for how much it was purchased for, at what point in time. And basically, it is validated throughout by multiple, what we call nodes or networks, who are really looking at that information to make sure that that transaction is valid and it's immutable, right? It's just unchangeable. So there's a public ledger that's held and it's shared, and people could always go back and verify that. And it's using what they call blockchain. And we'll give you a bit more details about what is blockchain and what that's all about. There's a context that they talk about currency. And so this is just a representation of an asset or utility on the blockchain. And so it is fungible, it's tradable. I could give it to someone could give it to me, we could exchange it for some value. It could also be, you could use it for loyalty points. And so we're always constantly using this blockchain methodology or software protocol, which is really code, to deliver tokens between individuals and different systems. Now, there's this wonderful organization called the Securities and Exchange Commission in the United States. You can learn more about them by visiting, and learn more about them in the context of an ICO by visiting www.sec.gov/ICO. What they're really concerned about is investors. And they talk about the 3 R's of ICOs. What are the risks? What are the rewards? And what are the responsibilities of the actual company who is launching an ICO? And recently, so the position is tokens and offerings that feature and market the potential for profits based on the entrepreneurial or managerial efforts of others contain the hallmarks of a security under U.S. law. And the key words is as a security on the U.S. law, as if you establish a token and you're trying to raise money through an ICO and you're shady, you could go to jail for this. You could get fined for this. So I just want to make sure that we're aware that there's an organization out there that's looking out for us, and just to make sure that make sure we don't have, and we have shady characters out there. Everyone knows that. And so we always have to be careful as we're dealing in the digital realm of being able to protect ourselves and protect others, especially when you're doing an ICO. Another key thing that comes up is the alternative trading systems, because it's much like the stock exchange, right? And it's a platform to trade cryptocurrency, and it's regulated by the SEC. So as you can see, the SEC is involved in many of the digital platforms that we use, and they're keeping an eye out for things. A key standard that a lot of Bitcoins, or not Bitcoins, but a lot of token and cryptocurrency use is called Ethereum. And basically, a majority of the ICO tokens use this standard. Just wanted to share that with you because it's something that you need to be aware of, and it's an opportunity for you to trade your coin back and forth and also raise money. Now, the whole principle of cryptocurrency runs on blockchain, and it's called a trust protocol to support immutable transactions, things that does not change and you can't delete it. It uses a distributed consensus ledger, where you have multiple people validating based on certain types of algorithms, validating that each transaction is actually true. So the key thing, this supports commerce, economy, and the business, and different types of businesses. So even a t-shirt company, and I shouldn't say even a shirt company, I should say a t-shirt company, could actually create a token for its brand and sell that out on the blockchain and on the internet to make sure that it could raise money to sustain itself. We could use it as a means of different types of transactions. And you could really audit this end to end. I mean, there's a great application for this in the housing market as well. So really, how does blockchain really work when you really think about it? So there's a transaction request. I want to make a purchase or make a trade. So that is sent to a network of nodes, which are nothing more than computers, all computers running software, validating to make sure that what is sent is actually true. Hey, I'm Dr. Dave. You could identify that, yes, I was the one who actually sent that transaction. Wanted to make sure that everyone knows who I am. And so some of the algorithms that they call consensus algorithm, and the reason is because in the digital world, one thing they have is what we call a double spend. So in the real world, if I have $1, I could only spend it once. And once I'm spent it, that's it. But in the digital world, you could essentially spend a digital currency multiple times. And that's what blockchain, one of the key features that blockchain provides is to make sure that you can't have the double spend. And so the consensus algorithms, there's a few. The most popular is proof of work, which is done with different miners. So I could be a miner. I could use my computer and run some of Ethereum software to make sure that I am validating transactions on my network. This is the first one that was created by Satoshi Nakamoto, and which is used for the whole Bitcoin blockchain, which is the start of stuff. If everyone knows who Satoshi Nakamoto is, he was the one who actually wrote this white paper that really spawned this whole industry of blockchain and cryptocurrency. And so after it's validated, there's also proof of stake, where there's more of the minters, whereas actually creating the actual tokens themselves, they're the ones who's validating, and it's not the miners, right? The miners are the people who are like myself and others who may run these algorithms on our computers at home or even in the cloud. And then, so the third thing that they look at in terms of an algorithm for consensus algorithm is the proof of authority. It's an Oracle, it's an admin account, and they're the one who's doing a lot of the validation. So once it's validated, it's just that transaction data is put in a block and a set of other data. Now, after that, you can't change it, and then that's added to the chain. Then the transaction is completed, and that's how it works. And as you can see, there's a lot of complexity involved with getting something like this to work. One thing I would say as we start to kick up our ICO, I just want to give you a background of the technology and what are people using for blockchain itself. But one thing you want to be aware of is the whole context of golden apples, right? There are distractions. And with the blockchain world and cryptocurrency, there's lots of distraction, there's lots of news. And you have to get into the mindset where you want to have more incremental plans, and they're all prioritized. Because basically one day there's a new coin, one day there's a new platform, and this is almost minute by minute. And basically they could distract you from really getting to the final outcome of the journey that you're on. And so I say you have to have metrics to help us determine progress and outcomes. How are we doing? How are we progressing against the goals that we have? And have fun along the way. So the whole concept of the golden apples, and I say beware of the golden apples. So there's this story, this Greek mythology story itself, where there was this great female athlete. Her name was Atalanta, and basically many men would come and race her, and every time they'll race her, they'll lose, and she will like take them out, actually kill them, according to the Greek mythology. Now, there's another guy who came along. His name was Hippomenes, and basically he wanted to race Atalanta, and he fell in love with her. How interesting is that? Talking about distractions. And as part of it, this is where the golden apple came in. He went and he prayed to this goddess named Aphrodite, and Aphrodite gave him 3 golden apples. Now, as he's running and racing at Atlanta, what he did was at different increments, he would drop a golden apple, and she would look at it, and she would stop and be really taken by these apples. And this is how Hypomenes actually beat her in a race, right? And basically, he ended up marrying Atalanta after cheating. So these are golden apples, and that's what they're about. They're really distractions, and we have to be mindful of them as we're going through this process of attempting to establish our ICO and our organization, because it's really running a business. One of the key tools that we use in the Agile space is called Kanban, and it's a Kanban board, which means signal card. And as you can see, it's a visual aid to manage work as a team. You can see that there's at least 5 different columns. Sometimes there are 3. It starts with a minimum of 3 or 4, and it could grow up to more than 5. I like to keep it simple. So to me, 5 is probably the most that I would want. And so this was made popular, in the software industry by this guy by the name of David J. Anderson. And he looks at it as a way to organize chaos around the team, chaos around the organization, and make it easier to prioritize and just really focus on what is the highest priority item that we have to work on today. And as you can see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 columns in my illustration, and 4 rows and 5 columns. So 4 rows, those 4 rows represent a team. Each team may have its stream of work that it has to get done. And so it's important for us to really manage that and get that work done. So we start off with a bunch of stories, which we call a backlog. And in that backlog, you then eventually think, well, what's the next highest priority work item to do? Well, maybe we bring them over in the to-do column and we prioritize them. When we're ready to work on them, we move them to in progress. Now, if we need someone to verify the work that we have completed, we move it to verify. And when that person is done, they move it to the done column. Really simple, linear transaction that you could see. Really easy for us to follow. There's certain key things that you could use as we start to uncover the workflow and really process the problems so we could constantly and consistently deliver the right value to our client and customers. So there's a few things that you want to look at, and this gives us a way to visualize that workflow. And so basically this is something that you could have as a digital element that someone could reach and look at on their mobile device. But also if we're in the same room, in the same space, we have a workspace, we could have this present 24/7. So everyone could know exactly where things are at all times. There's a concept called limit work in progress. Most people would like to limit to 1 to 2 things that are all in progress at any point in time. It's important for us to get to when we start something that we finish it and we don't have too many work in progress, because it becomes a distraction. It becomes a golden apple. And we really want to minimize the amount of golden apples that we're dealt with. And we have to constantly change, because that is not really an effective way of getting work done. The importance is to be hyper-focused, right? We want to manage flow, right? And so if you have lots of stuff that's work in progress, there's a strong possibility, a very strong possibility that you'll get distracted, you wouldn't get things done, and you'll be context switching. And context switching is not a very healthy thing for human beings in general, right? I mean, we're better when we could do one thing, finish it, start another thing, finish it, and get to the end. Matter of fact, we actually work a lot faster, and we are very much more happier when we're in that state of mind. Less frustration, less stress. There's policies that will build around that, like limit width is one thing. Make work visible may be another policy, but we want to make it explicit. It has to be simple for people to follow. We really want to keep it as simple as possible. We want to also measure things. The throughput of how fast sometimes we're getting things done. So we may think about limiting the size of work, the effort that it takes to get something done. So we said, well, maybe we won't do anything that's bigger than 3 days, right? I mean, so we'll break everything into 1 to 3 days worth of effort. And over time, you would start to understand and see these trends that we could work on and make sure that they work well for us. So I'll just take a little quick step. This is to help us be as collaborative as possible. And we want to be as scientific as possible in the process as well. So Kanban board is huge. It's huge for when you're doing an ICO. And it's one of the things that I use when I was working with a startup company to allow them to go faster, make work visible, and we could use scientific methods to really understand how we're progressing and where we have failure points and things we have to focus on. So as you can see, we have 20 big eggs, I call them eggs, that are sitting there. That this is the work to get an ICO done, right? And it begins with a business idea. You have to build a team. You need legal counsel. You have to find partners who will help you to build your technology product. You need advisors, people who have done different things that you haven't. And building a platform. Well, you can't do it all by yourself, so you have to have some developers involved, some people to help you with marketing. If you need to write a white paper. That's one of the things that you put out as a cryptocurrency or blockchain company or a fintech, financial technology company, is a white paper that really describes the intent of your product and what problem it intends to solve in the marketplace. It's important to have a roadmap of how you will get from beginning to end and begin to share that information out. You may have to create a token, or you may adopt someone else's token. In either way, you still have some work to do with the token itself and how you produce that. Security is huge. How will you secure your system such that you're not, you don't get hacked, right? And people's information is compromised. You will have to go through an audit in terms of security policies and practices. You have to go through an audit about your tokens. It's just something that you have to do to make sure that everyone in the marketplace, as you're bringing this initial coin offering, people need to know. And you have to have as much of the open kimono experience with the people who are going to invest in your company. People are going to buy in and believe in what you're doing. It's really important to do like a proof of concept release of your platform, so you can start doing limited experiments, engaging people early, getting feedback often, so you can start making decisions between pivoting or staying the course. Am I on the right road to be successful? Then once it's time for you to get going to begin the process, then there's a whole token sale marketing effort that needs to take place. You need to get out there and let the market know that you're present, that you're coming, and what date and for how long, and what are the different parameters of the ICO. And then there's the token sale itself, right? The token that you created to represent your currency. There's going to be some type of a conversion needed as you convert from. There's certain transactions that you need fiat currencies. You need dollars that you're going to have to use to pay people to buy different equipment. So there will be a conversion that needs to take place. Everyone, like I said, transparency is huge. So how much tokens did you sell? How diluted is your company? We want these reports to be transparent and available to your investors and even potential investors. Now, at some point, you have to get to where you have a transition plan, because you have to transition from being in a startup mode to where you're actually in a fully executing company mode, where you have marketing and sales and HR and on and setting up a company. So there has to be a transition plan of how you get there. And then the last thing which one of my recent friend that I met here in Tucson, his name is Profit, and it's spelled Profit. And it's interesting that one of the key things that he talks about when he thinks about cryptocurrency and blockchain is, how do I file my taxes? How do you help people file their taxes? Well, this is the critical element where you could actually, something that you have to provide. And I think it's important that people could run a report and see, how much money did I invest? How much did I make? Really important element, key thing. So this is the work to be done to do an ICO, and it's big, hairy, audacious goals. Lots of work, lots of moving parts, and leveraging agility and Kanban is one tool to allow you to manage that flow throughout a work in progress, so that you're not just overwhelmed with the amount of work that has to be done. You have to fund the business. So to start the business off, you have to bootstrap it. And one way to do it is by, self-funding, through sweat equity, putting some of your own money, some of your own savings, a lot of your time and energy. Well, you could always, tap friends and family. Another way, that's the way a lot of businesses are started. Basically cousins, brothers, sisters, mom and dad. It's one way of how we get our businesses funded. Or you work full time, and you take portions of your income and begin to invest in your own business. You could go out and get angel investors who could also be another vital source of funding for you, and also venture capital, another mechanism for really raising a lot of money. So those are different ways. Now, one thing I wanted to introduce and make sure that we use the appropriate tools. So Kanban helps you with delivery and execution and visibility. Now, understanding your business and how it works, I believe that you need the Lean Business Canvas. Well, it's called a business canvas, but I like the Lean Canvas that's done by Ash Mayura, but by Ash Myra, who wrote Running Lean. So Alexander Osterwalder, he started off with the business canvas based on his business model ontology. Now, that was adapted by Steve Blank in his work in the 4 steps of epiphany. Now, I like to use the business canvas to describe and design, challenge, and really pivot, the business model itself. So there is 9 key segments, 9 key areas. And so the canvas is divided in 2. One half on the left is about product. The other side is about market. And why this is important is that we need to understand what problem we're solving, which we start off with 1, which is on the product side. Now you go over to number 2, which is on the market side. We said, who are the customer segments itself? Are we targeting people who are 35 to 50-year-olds who live in Tucson, Arizona, or live in Orange County, California, or live in Australia? So we need to start to identify the customer segments that we're going to target to use our products and services or raise money. What is the unique value proposition? What's the compelling messages that we have? And, why are we different? Why should people invest in us or even buy our products and services? And that sits in the middle between product and market. Now, number 4 is the solution. We want to think about what are the top key features that we want to offer to the market that people are going to say, yeah, that really helps me solve a job that I have to get done. And the jobs to be done theory is a Clayton Christensen theory that he talks about in his book, The Innovator Dilemma. Right? And it's really an important concept to realize that people could hire or fire our products and services at any point in time, which is a very interesting concept. The other thing is sales channels. How are we going to get to our customers? What's the path? Are we using Groupon, or are we using social media, or is it a direct sale? Do we have channel partners where we have distributors and others who could help us reach additional customers? Number 6 is revenue streams. What is our revenue model? How do we make money? How much gross margins do we expect? And so as we begin to think through the business itself, this also could be these 9 elements. You could start putting them on your Kanban board of work to be done. What's the cost structure? How much is it going to cost for people in your organization? Since you need a platform to run blockchain and cryptocurrency, so you're going to have a hosting fee, whether you're doing that in the cloud or you're renting space. And in either way, you're still renting space. If you're renting space by having your own data center or you're renting a rack space, you still have some hosting fees that you have to pay. Is there any cost of distributing your work? And especially with blockchain, as you do transactions across the nodes, there's fees, there are transaction fees that you have to be concerned about. And basically, these are just things that you have to start to call out and capture. Number 8 is really key metrics. How are you going to measure progress? This is very important. I think that a lot of people go into, or they see the shiny coins in Bitcoins and think that you really do not have to treat this as a business and think about it in a way where you're concerned with measurable outcomes. You have to be concerned with measurable outcomes, and you have to measure them, and you have to measure them frequently, and you have to make sure that you have the right metrics. The number 9 is the unique advantage. What's the great differentiator that makes it hard for people to copy what you're doing? It's something that you have to think about, and maybe at the start you may not know, and you may evolve over time. But as you can see, this is an iterative process. It's something that you do multiple times. You may reevaluate your lean canvas. If you're doing what we call time boxes, and really trying to look at work every week or every 2 weeks, maybe it's something that you evaluate at that frequency level to make sure that you're going down the right path, to make sure that you have an opportunity to pivot, right, and change direction so that you could be successful. This is a very key tool that we need. We need the lean canvas, and we need Kanban board to help guide the ship and direct that we're going in the right direction. To really summarize, I just want to let you know, ICO is hard. It's hard work, and it really requires a team effort to get this done. Kanban principle will give you a lot of the visibility that you need. It gives you the opportunity to see really what's going on and how you will be successful with getting this done. Remain focused. Golden apples trip you up all the time. They're beautiful. They're things that we love to admire. And so as you go through, it's about creating, someone said, to create a zombie idea that never dies, something that stays around, kind of like Twinkies, right? I mean, they've been around for a long time, and it hasn't died yet so far. So those are the things that you should look at when you're doing an ICO. We know there's lots of things to be done, and it will take many, many, many more webinars and podcasts to cover all of those 20 items that I've identified as the key elements to be successful with an ICO. Keep your head above and pay attention to the SEC. You really do not want to go to jail when you're doing an ICO. There's a lot of fraudulent people out there, and you have to be mindful that you're paying attention to the rules and regulations that are out there. Just a little bit more about my company, nullshare.org. We're all about helping people achieve their awesomeness. And so we're involved with Agile coaching and training. We do like the Lean Business Startup Accelerator. You saw the Lean Canvas that we demonstrated. That's key to helping organizations move forward. We provide a lot of online courses or in-person courses. We do Agile organizational design to help you move forward, support your digital transformation strategy, and key things for us is diversity and inclusion coaching. Make sure that you could have the right people with the right skills at the right time. as part of our wonderful journey here, helping people to achieve awesomeness, our process is really about gathering stories about the leaders, teams, and customers. We advise you on visioning, strategy, and roadmap. We help you with delivery by using Lean, Agile, and DevOps practices. And we want you to really sustain where you're going, right? So you have the center of enablement. You're enabling people to be the very best, from discovery to people development and to your product journey. And so that's what KnowledgeShare is about. You want to get in touch with us, visit us on the web at www.knowledgeshare.org. You can reach us on Twitter at KnowledgeShare, and email, you can reach out to me, Dr. Dave, at knowledgeshare.org. We're really grateful for this opportunity to share with you. One more thing that I want to tell you about is the 5 Saturdays program. I think it's one of the things that I call it the thing that I'm very stoked about in terms of giving back into the community, teaching kids software development, teaching kids the ability to use Agile practices as a life skill. We teach them the Lean Canvas that you saw that was presented here is one of the tools that we use to really teach kids how to start a business. We give them skills in writing a resume and how to interview for jobs. So all in all, what we try to do, we teach them software development concepts and skills with Python. So what we're trying to do is to help to educate and build the next generation workers, globally, is one of our efforts. So we're grateful to the Agile Alliance for their support, for the Scrum Alliance, and for many other companies that support us, as well as for knowledgeshare.org. So what I would like you to do is to go out to our website. It's called 5, the number 5, Saturdays.org. So go to 5Saturdays.org and click on the donate button. Give us some money, help us to continue our effort, give us some time, give us your talent, and really not us, but really give back to your community. And that's what we're after. We're really grateful to be in a position to do that, and we would like to bring more people in. We'd love for you to join us. So, feel free to do that. And, thank you again. And this is the Agile for Humanity Tucson meetup. We're doing a monthly webinar series, and there will be another one coming up in November 17th and another one on December 15th. So go to Meetup and look for Agile for Humanity Tucson meetup, and join us. This is fun. It's really great to share knowledge, and we're bringing people from across the world to share back with our audience locally here in Tucson and throughout the world. So with that, enjoy your Saturday and find your awesomeness.